All right, welcome back to another edition of the Blitz, the Penn State Blitz here on Penn Live. Greg Pickel. It's Northwestern week.
It is.
James Franklin has never beaten Northwestern. 11 a.m. kick. They're going to have to eat their cereal a lot earlier than they normally do for this road game. They're 5-0. A lot of excitement. They whipped Indiana pretty easily. 45-14. Yep. A lot to get to on this edition of the Blitz. 4 downs plus maybe a little overtime. I don't know. Before we get started, though, remember about the Penn Live Penn State channel. Subscribe to that. Great stuff. Greg, where can we look at that?
YouTube.com/allpennstate. We'll get you there. All the Penn State stuff from before, during, after the game. Maybe our ride-along videos. You never know. You got to stay tuned for those. So a little bit of everything there. YouTube.com/allpennstate.
Since it is a road game, that means this week's ride-along will feature Dave Jones.
That's right, yeah.
He gets a little off topic once in a while if you watch the Iowa video, but sometimes that's half the fun.
Right.
So let's get into it. First down.
Yep.
Trace McSorley is the leader of this offense. The last time I checked, Greg, I think he was leading the Big Ten in passing.
Yep.
All his numbers are charting upward by most indicators. Yet I get a lot of feedback from fans that are a little bit, he's missing this, he's not doing that. So James Franklin was asked about Trace, and it's like he had the stats ready, just pointing out to everyone that really the kid's come a long way in a short time.
Yeah, they reminded me of Joe Moorhead's answer before the season about Penn State's offense and explosive
Less
plays.
insulting.
Yes, exactly.
Less insulting.
Right. James Franklin was just like, hey, look, we're 5-0. We were 3-2 at this point last year. Touchdown interception ratio is better. Completion percentage is better. All of these things, people are worried about not going downfield. I think that if that's your only concern on a team that averages 40 points a game, you're okay. Look, did he miss passes? Yes. Mike Gesicki wide open on a little short pass against Indiana. They missed it. I believe they scored the very next play.
Yeah.
But, he's going to miss those throws. I think you just have to live with it at this point. He's, 71-8 now as a starter, I believe?
He is 71-8. I don't know where you got that stat, but
took it from you.
I'm impressed with that recall.
He was 70-8 after the Iowa game. I recall you sharing that. But, yeah, I mean, you just have to live with it at this point. I don't see any way around it. I mean, he is going to throw the ball away at times. He's going to throw and make decisions that frustrate fans. His completion percentage is better this year. That's the thing. Everyone wants to talk about the throws that he missed, but it's actually better than it was at this point a year ago. 60% last year, right around 65% this year. So I thought James Franklin was right to say what he said, and I know people will still be frustrated with him come noon, 12:10 on Saturday. There'll be frustration that Penn State doesn't shoot out of the gate, but I think the results speak for themselves.
Yeah, and it's the sum of the parts with Trace. In addition to the numbers, tough kid, takes a lot of shots, doesn't miss much time, if any time at all.
Right.
And he can run the ball. I mean, that's another thing that I think people forget. One thing, I don't know if you've noticed it, a couple times he holds onto the ball a little bit too long.
Yes.
But you don't know all that's going on within the context of the play. But it's really hard to not be impressed with what he's done, not only at the end of last year, but also at the start of this year. You mentioned, Greg, Mike Gesicki. That's our second down segment here on the Blitz. I'm not sure he's going to play on Saturday against Northwestern. He took a pretty wicked shot from T. Gray Scales late in the second quarter. Could not continue, did not return. Yep. But naturally, James was hopeful that he'll play, but I don't know that he will. And if he's not there, it's a pretty big loss.
Yeah, he had an update. Well, he had no update, and then he said he was hopeful that he would play, that he expects him to play. He also expects Torrance Brown to play after the game he was injured, and, well, now he's out for the season. So I don't read anything into that, but it's just a point that when he says to expect this or expect that, it's hard to really have too much confidence in that is a grain of salt comment. But to me, Bob, if it's a situation where going into the bye week, if you think you can get through it, give him 2 weeks to rest, and then be good to go, I think you have to go that option. But the problem is Penn State doesn't have much behind him that's proven the tight end spot. They like Tom Pankos. They like John Holland. Nick Bowers and Danny Dalton are in a witness protection program, it would seem. So, I mean, what do you do when you have to change? You got to look around. I don't know if you'll find them, but how does it change this offense? I think it might be significant.
Yeah, and I think James, if he's not going to talk about injuries, that's fine. But then don't say, we think he's going to play. Right. Because I just think you got to pick a way to go, not do a little bit of both. Right. Third down. If there's one issue I think people have with their special teams, they've been phenomenal in just about every game with one exception. It's the field goal kicker, Tyler Davis. All first team All Big Ten last year, 22 at 24.
Yep.
Just so reliable. Huge kick against Minnesota last year. It has not come together for him at all.
Right.
This year, 5 for 11, a block in each of the last 2 games. But, you know, James Franklin loves him.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the answer is here, but I think there should be concern, Greg, because they're going to be in some close games. And if you can't make 75% of your kicks, I think it's time to look at another kicker.
Yeah, I mean, if you listen closely to what James Franklin has put the blame on for the 6 misses, you have 2 that are on Tyler Davis, 2 that are on a block, 1 that's on the snapper, 1 that's on the holder. So it's the entire unit. So when Blake Gillikin was asked after the game, hey, what are you seeing? He said, well, I don't know. It's hard to pinpoint. Billy Fessler this Tuesday morning, talking on a conference call with reporters, kind of said the same thing, that, you know, we're confident, but we're going to get it figured out. But the first thing out of his mouth was, I don't know.
Yeah.
And the problem is, Bob, that when you have so many issues like that, and the protection's been a problem, 2 of them, he's just not even been close on the 2 that he missed. I don't know what else you can do. Alex Barbier is the only guy on the roster that would seemingly be a guy to be put in there, but he has kicked I think 2 of the 3 kickoff opportunities he had out of bounds. So, I mean, what is the next option for Penn State? I don't know if they have one. They're not taking him off Tyler Davis off a kickoff. James Franklin was very clear about that today.
Right.
I think they're almost crossing their fingers and hoping this thing figures itself out here as the season goes on. It may not be the best plan. It certainly isn't the ideal plan, but I don't know what other option they have.
Yeah, it sounds like James Franklin wants to say this is a mechanical issue.
Right.
And I'm not so sure it's not a mental issue. He missed that 21-yard field goal against Indiana, and it was not really that close.
Right.
That's with kickers, you never know when they go in a slump if they're going to come out of it.
Right.
There's been some well-documented cases of kickers that in the NFL, people thought they were going to be stars, and they just, once it gets in their head, they're out of it.
Right.
I think this is definitely a big game for Tyler Davis.
Yeah.
They got to get it squared away. Michigan and Ohio State are on the horizon. I think this is a big deal, and I think he really needs to have a good game.
Yeah. I think I'd just add one more thing to that. If it's the rushing because of the protection, that's fixable. If it's the mental aspect of it, then that's where the problem creeps in. But again, I just don't see what the options are on the roster. Interesting situation.
Time for 4th down.
Yes.
I think as a whole, one of the things that I think is most impressive about Penn State's team this year is their team speed.
Right.
It speaks to how well James Franklin and his staff have recruited. Now they're deeper.
Yep.
They're putting good players on special teams. When you have a guy that's 6'4", 220 running down as a coverage player like Irv Charles, running a 4.4, disruptive player, and it shows up on defense, on offense, explosive plays. He even said Saquon Barkley's faster than he was 2 years ago. Some of these runs he's not getting caught from behind on, they would have caught him 2 years ago. Your thoughts on their speed and how much different it is this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think that one of the things you heard James Franklin say from the get-go, and Dwight Galt, the head strength coach, has been really preaching this as well, is that we need more speed. We need to be faster. And part of that's recruiting. It is. You look at the corners, you look at the wide receivers they've recruited. They've over-recruited some of these spots, but they brought the speed to come with it. So if a guy, Irv Charles is a perfect example. If he's not going to contribute right away at his position, wide receiver, then he's going to be able to at least play special teams. He goes down. And he's had issues there. I mean, he was the king of holding on special teams last year, and it seemed James Franklin seemed to say that it's clicked for him when he was talking today, and it does obviously look that way. It's an easy time to say that after he makes such a big play against Indiana, but it's all about the recruiting. They figured out what they need to have on the roster at a couple key positions, and this is what you're left with, a team that can just fly up and down the field no matter what unit's on the field. Yeah,
2 other players to watch for coverage-wise. Nick Scott gets a lot of attention, special teams captain. Aaron Monroe, I think, as the season goes on, is another player with speed that is really going to impact the coverage units and really help Blake Gillikin. We'll see if the special teams can make an impact against Northwestern on Saturday. That is our 4th down here on the Blitz. It might be time for a little overtime. I don't know. Are there any questions out there? Possibly. We're looking for a cue. Not really getting one.
Got one coming.
We got one?
I think we do. Let's give it a little look-see here.
It's more about
Gesicki. It is more of a statement. Well, I'll just ask
don't be afraid to make fun of these questioners.
That's okay. No, it was fine. Kevin wants to know if Gesicki is really expected to play. Like we said earlier, I think it's a grain of salt. I think if I had to put the eggs into the play or not play basket, it would be 70-30, probably not. But I don't know. When James, there's been times he says expected to play, and then they don't even travel, and there's been times where they say expected to play and the guy plays. So I would think probably not, but we'll have to wait and see, Bob. But unless you have anything else, I guess
he looked like he was in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
After T-Gray Scales hit him, and
which most people would be. And James Franklin.
It was somewhere around here. Mm-hmm. You remember Tommy Boy when Chris Farley goes, "Do I have a mark on my face here?" No. So it's somewhere there. If it involves a bone or I'm no doctor. It might be a couple-week injury. I'd be surprised if he played. I think we might have one more question.
It looks that way.
We're being prompted.
That's right. All right. What's the plan with the offensive line? Phil wants to know, Bob, what's the plan with the offensive line?
As far as what? I mean, I think that they have to fix right tackle.
Yeah.
Who is the guy? Is it Chaz Wright? Is it Will Fries? Some other players need to play a little bit better. Brendan Mann missed some time. He missed a game. I think there's some gelling issues. And also Connor McGovern at center is probably still figuring it out. I think if I had to say the one issue that must be addressed on the offensive line, it's the right tackle spot. I'm not sure that they're getting good enough play there right now.
Yeah, I think so. I think the problem is that they are ultimately, at the end of the day, they move some guys around, and I think they put some stock in Andrew Nelson being healthy. He has not been healthy. He's missed time.
Yeah.
And so that sort of put him in this bind of, and then, of course, the thing, you have to move Will Fries into guard for a game. He starts at left guard. Now you move him back out to tackle. Chaz Wright doesn't play at Iowa. I mean, I think there's just too many moving parts right now. At the end of the day, the plan has to be, and of course, best laid plans, but they have to get 5 guys on the field, their best 5, and leave them out there for a little bit instead of moving parts around and all that.
Yeah, and I think the fans want to know about Michael Mennett.
Yeah.
And I would say to the fans that he missed some time in the spring and in August due to injury.
Yeah.
And obviously, if they felt he was ready to go, he would be one of those 5 guys.
Right.
I don't know if he's going to help them this year, but you just wonder where he fits into the team on big picture.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't think it's anything more than that. I think that he was obviously a very highly touted guy, but Matt Limegrover was clear on the fact that some guys were able to pass him because he missed some time in the spring and summer. We'll have to wait and see.
Anything else?
That's it.
All right, that's going to be it for this edition of The Blitz. We want to remind you one more time to subscribe to the Penn Live Penn State channel. Greg Pickel.
So on YouTube, it's okay. We don't.
I know there's an address here somewhere.
/all Penn State. You can find everything there, Bob.
And don't forget to watch the ride along video before Penn State Northwestern.